So, hey, guys, before we get started and whatever, I just want to give a little acknowledgement. I don't know if you heard about Zach Romero from Bog Monkey.
Yeah.
He passed away this week.
Yes.
Which I hate saying it like that, but it's YouTube. If I use the other words.
No, I know, man.
So, family is definitely in my thoughts and a little bit more than prayers. I talked to a couple of people. Hopefully there'll be some things going on. I don't want to, this isn't about that. I don't want to sensationalize it, but on behalf of Clean and Sober Stoner, and I think all of us, condolences to his friends and family.
Absolutely.
And to the bands of the entire scene that are just devastated by this.
Maybe, I know you don't probably want to do this today, but maybe at some point we should do like some sort of mental health type of episode beyond just, addiction and stuff. I think, I know.
Clean and Sober Stoner. I mean, that's part of my anger here. It's like I keep pulling back from doing the mental health stuff and from, as a counselor, I'm really pissed at myself that I haven't made more of the recovery, mental health, and addiction aspects of the channel. Really frustrated with it, but we have to be careful.
Sure,
we have to be careful, and but that I have to be careful of things sounding more and more like BS to me. So yeah, I agree. We definitely won't. I have content that's coming. I'm actually interviewing guys who are willing to, interviewing guys in bands that are in mental health and or addiction recovery. So anybody watching this, if you want to get together, I don't really have any requirements, just either be in a band or a fan. But if it's too intense, it goes into the membership tier. But I don't want to hold people hostage either, though. So the recovery content will not be buried in membership. It won't.
Let's normalize conversations about people's mental health. It's really important that is a normal discussion that people don't feel bad about having.
Yeah. So on behalf, I'd like to say of all of us, we got to keep doing things. We got to keep, Stoner Doom, the Heavy Underground is this, it's huge, actually. When you start looking at all the channels and all the avenues, it's hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. It's not a nothing scene. It's a really close scene. So yeah, so it's really hard to jump into banter and humorous stuff. But I like to think the Mooger Fooger's looking down and going, "What the hell, guys? Come on!" Well, interesting month so far.
Yeah, it has been an interesting month. I'm enjoying lots of good stuff that's come out that I've discovered this month.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like May is just, it's just so front loaded with good stuff. What's on your radar? And by the way, I'm so rude. This is S. Patrick Brooks from the Heavy Underground Farm Report. And what is on your radar?
Hey, man. So I have been listening to a lot of Hexecutioner this month. So I had accessed their album from last year, which is absolutely fantastic. And then I had some brief conversations with the band, and they sent me their new album that's coming out at the end of this month. And it's like really doomy, but it's like, I hate to like use a typical type of comparison, kind of acid kingy. I like it. She's got a great voice. There's great vocals. It's doomy. You guys should check it out. I dig it, man.
You had me at acid kingy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fair comparison.
I mean, I definitely think a topic we might want to even talk about it today, the grievously underrated bands. Everything in the scene is like Sleep and Caius and Electric Wizard, who obviously I have. There are way more bands that I think deserve every bit the recognition that Sleep and Caius get.
Yeah, Acid King would be right at the top of that kind of list.
Yeah. Rich, what's on your radar?
Yeah, as I try to quietly plug my laptop in. So we kind of I mean, everyone has Kal-El on their radar.
Yeah, yeah.
So good.
Ridiculous. I've been listening to the Paralyzed record and have very. I really like that band, but there are a couple songs like they're almost so close to a Stones and Doors song that I'm like, that's Jumping Jack Flash. That is the Jumping Jack
I
Flash.
literally just listened to that album right before we jumped on,
and I enjoy it, but I'm also a little freaked out by it. I don't know. I don't know really how to explain it, but.
Oh no, I think you just nailed it. I agree. It's like I'm enjoying it, right? And I'm really digging it. And they do have that definitely a Doors vibe, and also a Mark Lanigan vibe on the vocals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, should I really be enjoying this much? And then I listened to the new Cadaver, and I'm like, oh heck yeah, I'm supposed to enjoy this much.
Yes, you are. But May is actually going to be a tough one for me. There's a lot of really great stuff. I got to talk to Crystal Spiders for the Rich and Turbo Heavy half hour
They're so cool.
Couple days ago.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. Also broke the news that there'll be a new Lightning Born record too, which makes me very, very happy.
Well, you think you broke the news.
I didn't release it yet, but for me, I broke the news for myself that there's a new Lightning Born record coming.
I interviewed Brenna for Bass Gear magazine, and
cool.
So I'm hoping to have that released. I also have to write, an article with it, and I've had writer's block. So yeah, she talks about Lightning Born, so it's gonna be a race. Who can get it?
I'm gonna drop mine today. Then that's the next thing I do. And then two other things I want to mention. There's a lot, but Dusty Rose Gang, new record, new band coming out on Riding Easy Records, and they're like a kind of MC5, Blue Cheer, Grand Funk kind of thing.
I love that.
Dusty Rose is a guy. It's and I'm trying to get him on the show too. He just rips it up on guitar.
All right,
it's a really, really good record. So look out for that one. And a band that a lot of people who listen to this may or may not be aware of or care about or like is a band called McCluskey. They are, I guess you could call them like post-punk. To me, they remind me of like Nirvana if they were heavier, combined with The Clash if they had more wit and humor. And this is their first album in 21 years. And it's like they didn't miss a beat. I actually wrote a review for it from Wikipedia of Metal. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and it's an unbelievable record.
I would check that out for sure.
All McCluskey is good, but the new McCluskey is really, really good. So,
oh hell yeah, awesome. That sounds fantastic. You said all the right words.
So yeah, Crystal Spiders. I've actually had that out. Like I told her, I bought it. Right, I bought the digital download, and then I saw that their entire discography is for sale. So then I bought the whole discography. So I bought it twice, and then Brenna was, I think, on Facebook or somewhere. She always wanted an emerald green album, so I bought the vinyl so I can put it. So I've bought that album 3 times. Todd from Ripple Music, you should be happy, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've purchased that vinyl album as well. And I have a couple green albums. I have the Momo Voodoo album coming too. I think that's green as well.
I have one of those on the way, which will be a green, wonderful.
And as crazy as this sounds, if Crystal Spiders wasn't releasing this month, and even ahead of Kal-El, even ahead of Ox, and that album is heavy, like heavy. They took a turn towards the heavy that I feel like I slept through. So that Beware of Gods, Sky Jogger is...
Man, have you heard Domadora's new album? That thing's a ripper too.
I have not
heard that one
yet.
Man,
no. It's good shit. I just checked it out a couple days ago. So
they like Sky Jogger?
They're like Earthless, man. I think that's
yeah. There's this whole thing going on. And I just uploaded a song by the Dutch band Rags. I don't know if you guys know them. Holy shit.
Is it 2 R's?
3
right?
R's.
3 R's. 3.
Yeah, I saw something about that this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know that.
You've got. So we were talking last time about classic rock, and last time when I forgot to hit record.
That never happens.
Oh my God!
Hey, Sergeant Thunder, if you're watching,
sorry. Payback's a bitch, Mooger Fooger. So I was thinking before we started, because when I listened to Rags, or is it Rags, and then you mentioned Grand Funk, that Red album. I'm like,
love that Red album.
Anybody around my age or our age that's going, yeah, rock is dead, man. Dude. The heavy rock that's coming out right now, I will put Rags up against Cream. I'll put them up against Mountain. I'll put them up against Grand Funk Railroad as one of the greatest power trios I've ever heard. No hyperbole there.
You're definitely right about rock not being dead. And I don't know if you guys have heard the Black Honey Cult record.
I haven't heard it yet, but we got it, I think, through Purple Sage.
It's again, like, I have 4 records that are just like could all be my number ones for May, and it's only May 9th. But that record, I am a huge Velvet Underground and 13th Floor Elevator fan. I love the old psych stuff, and I get as hipster as possible with my 60s music. That record sounds like that. Like, I love this. The first album by The Strokes was amazing.
Yeah.
The second album by The Strokes was not amazing. And everything they did after that was not amazing. This should have been what they did. Or the new Foamies record should have been what they did. Because this is what, like, weird 60s psych should have sounded like, and what The Strokes should have done instead of whatever the hell that was that they did after that first record. So,
yeah.
So you guys are younger than me. What is with this massive tilt in the underground towards this really? Because I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to get hate. Hopefully I get hate comments, because that means people are watching and they watch past how many minutes are we into this. But rock wasn't that good in the 70s. Like, we have this mythological way of looking back at it. And it's like, yeah, man, all the rock was king and all that. No, wasn't number 1 album Captain and Tennille? Come on.
No, yeah. So I remember being about 13 or 14, and I'd like be taking a shower, and I just have this rock song playing in my head. And it was like a really good rhythm section, and there's just this guitar player who's just wailing and wailing. So I like manifested Earthless like years before they, and you know, I think a lot of us like it's kind of the same thing. Like when I see these modern reggae bands, you know, I see them live and the guitar player is just up there and he's just killing it. I mean, they're great. There's doomy moments to these shows that are really fun. You know, it's like, but nobody ever puts that on a record, right? Like, all the best parts of every live show I see are never on a record. You know, I want to hear the guitar player kicking ass, and I want to hear improv, and I want to hear, you know, funny, weird things happen. That never makes it to a record, right? So it seems like this music that we're hearing now, that's being recorded now, is the shit we wanted to hear from the 70s bands that never fucking made it to the record. It's finally making it to the record. That's kind of my opinion of why we like it, and why it's a little more exciting than it was, and why it's not so canned and processed like it was in the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s, like, that era didn't really last that long. Now, I'm not saying, right, that it's better than Rory Gallagher's first band Taste, you know, and I'm not saying that Mountain is less than or Cream, but I am going to tell you this. Here's my hot take for the day. The guitar players today are better than the guitar players back then, because they have 50 years of material to practice and hone their craft. You hear somebody like Isaiah Mitchell, and I'll put it, I mean, he's doing some Santana licks on that album from The Elvin.
I love that album. Yeah, he's the best guitar. He's my favorite guitar player. I love that guy.
I don't know if they're better, or there's just so many more guitar players now. And because there's so many more guitar players than there were in the 70s, right? So, yeah, they have that whole catalog of stuff to hone their craft on, but there's also like a lot more resources for them to be able to get to that stuff, and there's just more people who are picking up a guitar, I think, and able to, and maybe it's because we can hear so much more of it too. I don't know how much, what kind of underground 70s, rock bands are out there that you could go and you can find someone like Dusty Rose from that record and know that he exists, right. Even. But no, you're going to get a lot of hate for people for saying that the 70s was not great.
I'm not saying it wasn't great. I'm saying that our memory and fondness for it is greatly exaggerated. And the ability of the guitarist. So I'm not putting down Jefferson Airplane. I mean, they wrote groundbreaking, stuff. But when you listen to the musicianship, it's kind of like, there's nothing awe-inspiring about Jefferson Airplane guitar lead.
When I got into the heavy underground really seriously and really started listening to the music, the thing that blew me away was the amazing quality of the music, the songwriting, and the guys playing the songs, guys and ladies playing the songs. It was unexpected. I did not expect, like, the deeper I dove, the better it got, and it wasn't just a lot of, that meme where there's, doom bands play 3 notes in 4 hours kind of thing. It's like, it's not really like,
well, for Dope Smoker, that's literally true.
Well, okay. But for like a lot of the, every month I'm blown away by the quality of the music. Just absolutely stunned. I never heard Phantom Hound before. I bought their album.
Oh yeah.
I finally put it on this week. Jeez, I'm not even ever prepared for the quality that I'm getting hit over the head with. It's just, I think that's one thing that's better than the 70s. There's a lot more better bands.
I agree. I think there are way more better bands because back then, there was only one way to do it, right? You had to get discovered by an AR person and then, sure, the record label and then the producers. And by the time 1975 hit, they were looking for the hits. I mean, I think Kiss's first album is much better than Destroyer, but Destroyer, the production value is up, and now I believe that was produced by, I'm not even going to say who I think it's produced by because my memory, was it Bob Esser? Did he do that one?
I could walk over and grab it, but man, I'm lazy and I'm not going to.
I'd look it up, but it all became production value. And I say it all became that, but no, it's the same as it ever was. It's just what was underground. Kiss was the ultimate underground word-of-mouth band. They were a phenomenon before they ever got a gold album.
I'm a huge Kiss fan, but the second album is maybe the worst produced record ever. And that record sounded terrible. And there were reasons they moved. They went to the studio in California, and it just didn't work. And it's an awful sounding record, but probably has some of my favorite songs, like Going Blind and stuff. I could do a whole Kiss show, and you guys could look at me and be like, wow, he's crazy.
No, why?
Did we already look at you like that?
No, man. Go.
No, I love Kiss, but I completely agree with your point. Destroyer is their best known and biggest record of the 70s records. Probably my 4th favorite of those. I'm a Rock and Roll Over guy. That's my favorite one. I go Rock and Roll Over, Hotter Than Hell, first record, Dressed to Kill, Destroyer, Love Gun. Probably.
Dressed to Kill is still every year, every summer, right? I'll put on the summer albums from when I was 12, 13, and it's going to be 3 albums that I'm going to listen to without fail. Kiss is Hotter Than Hell. I'm going to put on Aerosmith, Get Your Wings, which I think is their most hit. I just love that album. And Black Oak, Arkansas. If you know them, I'm impressed.
I know them. I mean, I don't think I've heard them for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a very long time.
Oh yeah, I listened to Raunch and Roll Live, where they have the Natos, and you play it backwards and it's saying, yeah. It was Black Oak, Arkansas, folks. It wasn't Judas Priest or Black Sabbath. But no, those are, to me, those are the ultimate summer. That and Layla and Other Love Songs by Derek and the Dominos.
Yeah.
That's summer for me.
My hot take is that Eric Clapton is the most overrated wanker I've ever heard.
Garrett Clapton, you can publish it. That's a racist bitch. I fucking hate that guy. But you know,
so I'm gonna bleep every other word on. Would you like to say it again for a PG audience?
I don't like Eric Clapton very much. I think he's a bastard.
I love Eric. So I understand. And can we really separate the artist from the art in the case of Burzum? Absolutely. Like Lord Vickerness, Bard Vickerness, whatever his name is. But Clapton, just his playing was so emotive and evocative.
I absolutely love Cream. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Cream, yes. After that, I just never really cared for his solo work.
No, it's really sappy.
Guilt Blues, that's a great song. But other than that, I could pass on just about everything, regardless of what kind of how much of a dick he is.
Let It Grow. Even if you put Let It Grow on, I'm going to have tears. I love that song. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's my feedback.
So I misspoke. So, just the 70s were really a blip, right? Like Grand Funk Railroad at their peak, which to me is the Red album, it was a blip. It wasn't this entire thing. And being a boomer, if you take 100 of my cohort, 3 of them are going to recognize that album. 3.
Yeah, why don't you think why did they what I like about that album is just that it's improvisational. Guy, have an easy time saying that word. But it seems like they stopped doing that. That's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like all the good stuff got cut out, and it was just chorus, verse, chorus, guitar solo.
The problem I never knew on the wonderful episode that we didn't hit record on, I was saying how I learned about some bands late in the process of life.
Yeah.
Grand Funk being one of them, Blue Oyster Cult being another one.
Yeah.
And I think with Grand Funk, the problem I had, and yet I'm a little bit younger than you guys, I think. I remember watching Headbangers Ball, and they would show every now and then like an old video. So I had visceral reactions to some of the old videos. For example, when they showed T-Rex Bang a Gong, I almost passed out because I loved it so much. I love T-Rex so much. Electric Warrior is one of my favorite records of all time. But then I heard Locomotion.
I was just going to say Locomotion.
And I'm like, what? Why? And then that completely turned me off to anything. And then only when in the last 5 or 6 years, when I started to connect with people on X and we have our little music groups that we talk about all this stuff, they're like, Grand Funk Red album. I'm like, oh, wow. And then I just got every Grand Funk record after that because I got past that terrible one experience there, and there was just so much more. But I guess my point is they had We're an American Band, and they kind of moved into this, we're looking to really, they were huge already, but now we need to have hits around our hugeness. And I think that's kind of where they went. But Red album, based on the Red album.
Making hits is always it's a killer, man. Like Cadaver trying to make a hit.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm really curious their thought process, because they kept the name Cadaver, so it's not like they're going to be played at the the senior prom.
I know exactly.
So I don't.
Do you see a bunch of teenagers and especially teenage girls running out to buy the new Cadaver album? I mean, even if it's just not from a marketing standpoint, probably not where I would have gone.
Well, yeah, but they could, if they open for Ghost or if they open for Sleep Token. Oh,
maybe that's what they want to do.
Let's deal with the Ghost hate I just saw.
You know what? Here's my, all right, quick take on Ghost. Man, I think artists should make the art that makes them happy, no matter how much I fucking hate it.
It's a huge butt. I was going to say there's a huge butt coming. I almost wore my Ghost shirt today for the show.
I know a lot of people love them, man, and I've tried to listen to it. It's just not for me.
You have to understand, like, the first Ghost record was amazing, and it was still when they were like metal, and they were kind of like this like almost more melodic version of like a Merciful Fate, and there's some really good stuff here. And then it got less and less that, but it got more and more catchy, and the earworms that guy can create. It's basically like metal ABBA, if you ask me.
I agree.
I have great deal of respect for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about it is I get, the memes where Tobias Forge is walking through the gosh darn metal detector and, oh, you're safe. There's no trace of metal here. Metal is a vibe. I mean, I kind of like the idea that a metal attitude and metal lyrics and metal attitudes, are kind of going into the more mainstream. I think it's totally awesome that a Kardashian wears a Slayer shirt. I mean, that's what I want.
I know. Oh my God, where's my gate?
Yeah, we need the gatekeeper episode.
I'm gonna have to gatekeep hard on the Kardashians.
Okay, but wait. The cool thing, it is gatekeeping. It's opening the gate. And I'm in favor of it. Am I going to listen to the Ghost album tonight? No, because like Rich said, when I listen to Ghost, it's funny you say that because I want to hear Merciful Fate's Melissa. That's where I want to go. I want to hear Don't Break the Oath. I want the real stuff. I love Ghost for what they're doing, and I love their controversy, and it keeps our music in the conversation. And the first #1 Billboard rock album in 4 years. Yay!
The dude can write songs, and he can write all sorts of songs.
And his musicians can frickin' play.
The live album had like a protest song on it, like Neil Young almost. Yeah. And I don't think anybody really even heard that one. The new record is
cool.
It's like Rocky Bee Gees. Like there's like all this and I love it. I just eat it all up.
I will definitely give that one. We had a big disco thing all week at work, so I've listened to a lot of Bee Gees this week. There you go. So maybe I'll hear it. Maybe I'll check it out.
I'm so sorry, dude.
It was a rough week, too.
But I want to go back to your Kardashians wearing a Slayer shirt. They're wearing it because it's fashionable.
Yeah,
not
good.
Because they like music. That's fine. But then I also have this I'm thinking to myself, oh, these posers who go to Coachella and they listen to all this terrible music and they're probably wearing Misfit shirts, and then and I look at the headliner on one of the days and it's the fucking original Misfits with Glenn Danzig, and I'm like, well, now what do I do? Because now they might all be wearing Misfit shirts, but they actually saw them play and maybe they liked them. What's happening? Like, what's happening in this world? And how did I understand why Glenn Danzig he needs a lot of kitty litter, so he needs to be able to pay those kitty litter bills, which is why he's the headliner at Coachella.
Sure.
But it's all very confusing for me, and I don't know what to think about it.
I will tell you, ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't really think about it very much. Like if people enjoy the music that they enjoy, as long they're not really infringing on me, right? And if people like Ghost and man, that really turns them on, it doesn't, like when I was younger, that shit used to really piss me off. And it really doesn't make me angry anymore. I just hope that all those people who go to Coachella and see the Misfits, like if they really do like it, I'd hope they just take 5 minutes to go do a Spotify search on bands that sound like the Misfits and maybe discover some other music too. And I would hope that people would do the same thing with Ghost. And it's find out what their roots are if you like that. And maybe it leads you to Merciful Fate, or maybe it leads you to ABBA. But you know what? I appreciate people taking a musical journey, even if it's not the same one as mine. So I know that sometimes I'll come across, no, it's really true. And I know sometimes I come across like, oh, fuck that shit. But like, I mean, I don't really care. Like, I just care that people care about music. I hate the I listen to anything answer when you ask somebody what kind of music they listen to. Oh, like everything. It's like, God, no, you fuck, that's the, then do you even like music? So anyway, all right, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna step off the bump.
I'll admit that is a turn off for me. When I meet somebody, or but at the end of the day, the more successful any rock band is in this world, whether it's Foo Fighters, whether it's Ghost, whether it's Sleep Token, it's good for all of us, with a couple glaring exceptions. Like, can Journey just hang it up and just see, there I go again. I cannot be a cool dude.
No, I don't like Journey at all. I'm just kidding.
Steve Perry's vocals. There's not a lot of better singers than Steve Perry, though.
Yeah,
but
no, he was amazing. He was amazing.
I had a point, and now I forgot it. But I'll come back. I'll get it.
Was it about Journey? Like, here's my thing on Journey. Oh, I'm just dropping opinions. Like, here's my thing on Journey. How could you have so many fantastic musicians in a band and make such boring music? I'm looking at you, Journey. Toto.
I blame
Toto. I might be looking at you too.
I hear Neil Schon is not the most fun guy to deal with, and not the most open guy to collaborate.
Oh, really? I don't really know anything about the inner workings of the band.
Shoot there, Pilgrim. Boring music. We might as well go back to the Eagles. Desperado.
Oh my God.
Can't. Everyone knows that I hate the Eagles. It's a very, very well-known thing in my life. But back to, like, you were talking about, like, how back in the day people just gave up on bands because they sold out.
Yeah.
I remember I was I was very involved in, like, skate culture, but I couldn't skate, but I hung out with the skater guys.
Same.
I remember going to a birthday party, and I think it was Nevermind was out, and I think Only Smells Like Teen Spirit was on the radio, and it was killing everything. And they already had T-shirts that were like, Kurt Cobain selling out with dollar signs and everything, and I'm like, and even in my like 10th grade kind of mind, I'm thinking to myself, that's just so, like, you're just closing yourself off to, like, really, really good stuff because for some reason you think that they sold out, and you maybe have had a paper route in your life. Like, how can you even make that decision about anything like that? And just from the very start, it was like, oh, you have a hit, you're automatically, and those kids didn't know who Nirvana was, when Bleach came out on Sub Pop, but they figured out, like, well, if it's popular, I'm not down with that.
It's a dangerous attitude. Yes.
So, yeah.
But, part of it is with good reason. I mean, you know what I mean? When Guns N' Roses first came out, that was pretty awesome stuff. And when Motley Crue came out, even though
Let me tell you about my thing about Guns N' Roses. No, I'm just kidding.
They're my least, but Motley Crue was actually edgy, and Wasp was actually a little bit edgy. And then so they have a good reason to be like, you sold out. It'd be interesting, to fast forward like 3 years when now you have Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Smashing Pumpkins, Helmet. There was this Dinosaur Jr. Like, they opened up the floodgate for a whole bunch of really good music, up to and including Mazzy Star.
I was friends with a band on the Denver scene when Nirvana broke, and Nirvana used to roll through town all the time and open for bands, and sometimes they'd headline, and but they were, Sub Pop had a connection with Denver, and so we got a lot of Seattle bands that came through before anybody heard of them. And so my opinion definitely was not that Nirvana sold out. Like, when that album got big, like, my friends' bands and other bands just got swept up by record companies. They came through and fucking signed everybody. And my friend is like, dude, they're offering me $200,000. I'm taking the fucking money. And it's like, yeah, because you'd be stupid if you didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so there was no selling out, but there was a lot of selling.
But you also can't sell out between the time that you already signed to Geffen, you dropped your record, you had a video put out for Smells Like Teen Spirit. Nothing else has come out since then. But now suddenly you've sold out.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous attitude.
Nothing else in between that time. You didn't go out and put your second album didn't sound like the new Cadaver record. It sounded like something the record company wanted nothing to do with. Yeah. So they actually took the opposite kind of route that way.
That's my point. Yeah, for sure.
Which again, I'm going to shout out. They're not my favorite anymore, but Queens of the Stone Age, they came out with Songs for the Deaf, which was amazing, Grohl. And then the next album, Era Vulgaris, that was a huge middle finger to mainstream success and commercialism. That was a brave choice to do Era Vulgaris. It's the last Stone Age album that I like.
I always love to hear the band that got big who brought their next record to the label and the label said, we don't want it. That makes me want to hear it so much more because it's like they really did not compromise anything and they probably even leaned the other way. I think I mentioned it in our first chat. Faith No More, when they did Angel Dust, was the weirdest record on a major label ever at that time. There was nothing weirder on a major. And it was because they didn't give a shit. And they were given a lot of money to go make the record that they wanted to make. And they all hated each other. And there was that vibe going on. So it was like probably part like F the man, part like we want to maybe even self-sabotage here in some capacity. But we're going to do what we want to do. And it's going to be as weird and as crazy as we want it to be because we can do that now. Yeah.
Yeah, but if that album were to come out now, it would probably be a commercial success to some degree. I love that album. That album came out just before I got sober, so it was a little dark for me. But over the years, all of the Faith No More stuff, and they could do hooks.
Rich,
I know you have to go soon.
I'm okay.
Rich, 15. Can I just really you really just said something that I'd never really thought about in the way that you put it, but I inevitably think that bands' second albums are their weakest efforts, over and over and over again. And I wonder if it's because those bands bring an album and the studio's like, fuck no. And then they go back and then they cut. And man, so thanks for, that was really insightful. I just wanted to say that's really fuck, I never really thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
But at the same time, some of the greatest second albums
are bands that just said, fuck you, we're going to do it our way. Yeah.
Steppenwolf the Second, I think, is just now I'm really showing my age. But Paranoid, the second album for Sabbath, and Led Zeppelin 2 killed the first one. It stomped all over that sucker.
I think there was a difference in the 70s, though, because what was happening was, I think a lot of bands, they use up all their good ideas in the first record. Sometimes. I think that does happen. Mm-hmm. But I think what happened more in the 70s, why you got more better second and third records, but they were coming out every 6 or 7 or 8 months. So there was no stopping the wheels of creativity. And probably some of the songs that were going to be on the first record wound up on the second record. So that kind of first batch of genius that was caught up is probably then propagated to those other records. And I think sometimes, a lot of these big bands, when they drop their second record, it gets in their head, hey, Guns N' Roses, what? What? Did you need to do that?
This is good. We need to take a little bet because Castle Rat just announced through Purple Sage PR. Hi, Claire. The Bestiary comes out, I believe, in October.
Oh, awesome.
September. I thought I saw September. I just read that email too. Yeah.
I think it's October. No, I think you're right. It is September. And then they're rolling back through Raleigh at Chapel of Bones. Hey, folks. I really need to think, am I going to go see that? Because that place was so packed. So we'll see. Does the second album Curse stand with Castle Rat? I predict no.
I predict no.
I think they have those songs were written, I think, before they even released the first album.
I think just based on what Rich just said, I was just thinking about Creedence Clearwater Revival and like how they cranked out like a zillion good songs in like a 2.5 year period. So yeah, man, maybe Castle Rat's on that same,
I can't think of two more different.
Oh, they're the same band. No.
Hey, before Rich goes, I want to know if you guys have any opinions on Maryland Doomfest. This is the last year.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's not like a big like financial boom for the people putting that together. It's probably a lot of hard work. It's probably not their main job that they do. I don't know the person who does it, but I can only assume from talking to people like Todd and others who are at least involved and understand how to do that. John with Planet Desert Rock, it doesn't seem like it's an easy thing. And if there are any conflicting priorities, it would seem like a nightmare. I'm going to Welcome to Rockville next weekend in Daytona. And that's a huge one, but I can only imagine, even with all those resources, the dude from Three Doors Down has cancer. They had to cancel their set. They had to find somebody like in a day to fill that spot in. And they have the resources to do that. But I can only imagine like one negative thing happens to something there. And with other conflicting priorities, it's probably very difficult to kind of work on that full time.
Yeah. I talked to Ryan Garney and John Gist. We did an interview last week or the week before, and we talked about the putting
1 to midnight. And they had those two bands on at the same time. But my point is, like, it's memory building. Mm-hmm. You make friends. Mm-hmm. And my favorite example of this is a video of me dancing around to Mr. Bungle somewhere. But I'm standing there waiting for Mr. Bungle to come on. And I'm the biggest Mike Patton mark in the whole world. I love Mike Patton. So I'm watching him, I'm looking at him backstage and like seeing what he's doing, seeing what kind of mood he's in. You know, is he going to be okay for the set? And I'm standing behind this kid in like a full wetsuit and like a mat. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? And then I remember that at this stage, right before Insane Clown Posse played. So I'm like, I'm surrounded by juggalos right now. And I'm not sure what's going to happen while I'm surrounded by juggalos. So I'm standing there and the kid is like very excited for the show. And we made eye contact and he just starts telling me how his dad is like the biggest Faith No More fan. And I have now learned about Faith No More and Fantomas and Tomahawk and we just like had this like total like bro out moment with a friggin' juggalo waiting for Mr. Bungle to come on. So
there's